does that even mean, Bowers Game Corner?
Ahoy there, YouTube! I'm back again today for another game review. Today, I'm very excited to check out Remnants from Fireside Games for 2 to 4 players, ages 13 plus. It is the scavenge for resources, develop your compound, and fight the Raiders. It looks a little bit like Mad Max on the cover. This is a post-apocalyptic game where you are going to have your little city, and you are going to be fighting off bad guys. You're going to be scavenging for resources. You're going to be looting. You're going to be upgrading your compound in order to fight even bigger bad guys as you progress through the game. It is a relatively straightforward game, but that being said, there's lots of different things going on in this game, so the middle part's a little bit longer than I like it to be, but let's open it up, and I'll tell you what I think about it. Alrighty then, we're going to take a look at what you're going to get inside of Remnants. So first and foremost, we're going to handy dandy rule booklet, 12 pages, double-sided, full color, full of pictures, illustrations, examples. Pretty well done, should have you up and running really smoothly. In fact, I'd say this is a good rule booklet, definitely a good rule booklet. All the questions I had, I'm pretty sure we found answered, and also the last page or so are just what the different cards do and different variants that you can play with. So big thumbs up on the rule booklet. So in Remnants, what you're going to be doing is you're going to be taking control of a post-apocalyptic city. New Eden, Freetown, Sanctuary, or Asheville. And these are going to be very similar cities, except they will start with different numbers of survivors. So these three will start with 4 survivors and then 1 special survivor who's called a specialist. And this one will just start with 6 survivors. Your goal in this game is to get the most victory points by defeating bad guys, and you're going to have to deal with 3 bad guys during the game when you get to these phases of the game, and purchasing upgrades to your sanctuary, to your city right here by purchasing cards. You're going to purchase cards by gathering resources in a fast and frantic dice rolling method. What am I talking about? Let's go over components. Let's get into gameplay. I do want to mention there's a lot going on here. I mean, this is a very busy area right here, so I'm actually just going to not go into the components so much right now, but actually walk you through an order of play turn, because on the bottom of this, it has a very stinking useful thing that will keep you in line and let you know exactly what's coming up next. So the first thing we're going to do is what's called the scavenge phase. And during the scavenge phase, you are going to send out all of the people that you have. So these people are either going to be looting or scavenging. Scavenging means that you're going to be rolling dice super fast, trying to scavenge resources out of this area right here. And you'll also have some resources in here as you get to the 2nd, 3rd, 4th, 5th, 6th round of the game, but we're not going to get into that. Looting, on the other hand, means that you are going to be rolling as many die as you have people committed to your side of the corner over here. Because let's take a look at the dice right now. The dice are dual use. They will be used to tell you what resource you're getting or attempting to get. So this would be metal and this would be rope. But they also have pips on the bottom, and these pips are going to be used for looting and also for warfare, because you are going to have to fight bad guys, as I mentioned, when we get to the red phases right here. So let's just get in this and I'll give you a feel for how it works. So for me personally, I start with 6 survivors. I don't have any of the specialists because there are 3 specialists in the game. This guy will make it a little bit easier to scavenge because you only have to roll 2 of a kind instead of 3 of a kind, which will make sense in a second. This person is going to be able to carry 2 resources instead of 1 resource, because normally survivors only carry 1 resource, but he's got a nice backpack. And this person's going to be a little bit better at looting, which is going to allow you to move up on your loot track a little bit more. And I'll show you the loot track in a second, so chill out. So now what you're going to do is you're going to take all of your survivors that you have, both injured or not injured, I guess would be the word, and you're going to either commit them right here or right here to either scavenge or loot. So you know what? It's the beginning of the game. I really want to get some resources, so I'm going to go 5 people scavenging, and I'm going to go 1 person looting. And I have shown everybody that I'm ready, and everybody's going to do this at the same time. Next, you're going to flip the top Badlands cards. Now, these are the Badlands cards right here. Some are good, some are bad. Most of them, I'd say, are lean towards bad, because, I mean, you are in a post-apocalyptic Badlands, but some of them are good, and those are really nice when those do happen. So this one, gain 1 medicine for every 2 scavengers committed. So I just kind of hit the jackpot a little bit. So I would actually go up 2 on the medicine track like so. So you start at 0, and then I'd be right here. And I'd be able to use that medicine a little bit later. So we'll just put that down here, and we'll come back to that a little bit later. So that was actually a really good event. But I'll give you a feel for some of the other ones so you can feel out how they work. This one's going to injure 1 looter because they have carnivorous plants. Before scavenging, you may spend 2 loot to take 1 resource from the Badlands. Wanderers, in turn order, each player must either pay 2 loot and draw 1 new survivor, or injure 2 different scavengers, which would really be a sign of a bummer. And yes, some of these can kill your people, because if they get injured twice, they are dead, and these guys are going to help you gain resources, but they're also worth victory points at the end of the game. So now we're going to advance the dread track, so we move it, boom, right there, and as you can see, we're not on red, so we're not going to have to deal with any bad guys. And then we roll for scavenging. So this is going to be a real-time dice rolling thing where we're all rolling at the exact same time. I'm rolling in the middle just so you can see it, but normally you'd roll it off onto your side of the board. What you're trying to do is get 3 of a kind and then pick the resource that you've rolled 3 of a kind and put it onto your person. I have a 3-player game set up right now, but if we had a 4-player game, then you would fill in all the spots that have 4. So pretty self-explanatory right there. So 3 metal, that's a great start. Boom, just put it right there. Keep rolling, keep rolling, keep rolling, keep rolling. Let's see, I got 2 wood. Come on, give me another wood, give me another wood, give me another wood, give me another wood, give me another wood. So I got a wood, boom, put a wood right there, bam. And you're just going to keep doing this. You're going to do this as fast as you can. Now, some people have seen different strategies. What I like to do is I like to just grab whatever I get, and then I'll deal with it later. Some people actually have things in mind, like, you know what, I really want 2 plastic. Now, why does it matter which cards you're getting? Well, it matters, or which resources you're getting. It matters because you are going to be able to purchase cards to upgrade your base after this phase. So right there, I got this, which now means I get to the last phase of this, which is where I try to roll 3 stars. If you roll 3 stars and there is a token left, you get to take one of these special bonus tokens out here. Obviously, actually, once the bonus tokens are gone, the round is completely over. So for this one, I might take this one, which is a wild resource. So essentially, in a couple minutes, I'm going to roll the dice, and I'll get whatever resource it is. So in this case, I would get wood. This person acts as a lone survivor kind of guy, and he just comes around and he helps you next round. I like this one better because I like the resources. So that is how that phase is going to work. And some people can get screwed out of resources. It's not the end of the world, though, because you still, even if you don't get a bonus and you didn't use all your survivors, you still do gain 1 of the resources left out here to put on a survivor. So it's not that punishing. So next, we roll for scavenging. Or roll for looting, excuse me. So you roll 1 dice per looter. So I have 1 person over here looting, so I'd roll 1 dice, and I got 1 pip. That is a bummer. Now, what does this mean, this 1 pip? Well, that means I get to move one of these 3 cubes up on this track right here, and I'll tell you what this does real quick. This one, pretty self-explanatory. Medicine, you use 1 medicine, you heal somebody, so instead of being injured, they are now healthy. So obviously very good. This one, if you spend 2 screwdrivers, you're going to be able to bump yourself up 1 pip, which will be very useful in battles a little bit later. This one, this is scrap. You trade in 2 scrap. You gain 1 of any resource from the supply that you want, which is going to help you spend different things. Also, the other factor right over here is that you have 4 places to put your resources, and after the buy phase, which is about to come up, you have to have 4 or less, or else you're going to lose them. It's never actually happened in the 3 times I've played, but I guess it could happen in theory. So that's what's going to be on that track. But let's move on to the next phase, which is bury the leftover resources. So any of these resources that are left over now go into the buried spot, which means people can grab them next round. But the round after that, these things will go away and more stuff goes into the middle. Also, these tokens will be going in and out. You have to spend this token before the end of your turn. So now we get to the build phase, which is my personal favorite phase of the game. So we're going to take a look at these cards up here. And there's level 1 cards, level 2 cards, and level 3 cards. And these cards are going to give you victory points, which you'll see on the bottom right-hand corner. But they're also going to give you things like defense. And defense is very important because, as I alluded to earlier, you are going to have 3 confrontations with bad guys later in the game. So in order to deal with these bad guys, you're going to need defense, which are those symbols right there. But you're also going to need the fist, which is offense, which will allow you to roll 1 die. And that will be either 1, 2, or 3 to help you defeat bad guys. So let's talk a little bit about these bad guys over here. So there's going to be a whole bunch of different bad guys. You're only going to set up 3 of them. They got level 1 bad guys, level 2 bad guys, and they're going to look something like this. There'll be different kinds. They'll have different amounts of health. They'll have different number of victory points that you can acquire if you defeat them. And they also are each going to have their own unique defensive special abilities. So for instance, this war caravan, it's probably a level 2. Yeah, it's a level 2. You're going to have to kill it or defend against 8 health. And I'll talk more about that when we get to the fight phase. But it also is going to reduce your defense by 3, which is really rough. But if you're able to succeed, you get one of any resource you want. But if you fail, you lose a card. So each one's going to have a different good thing and a different bad thing. And the bad things, I mean, losing a card, that's a pretty big deal because as you can see, some of these cards, I mean, they will cost you a good deal of resources. I think the cheaper ones are only going to cost you 2 on the level 1. But still, you don't want to lose cards. It's bad. It's bad, 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 bad. So let's get to it. Let's talk about the fight phase. How does the fight phase work? Let's just say we're facing, these sand bats right here. They're a creature. They're going to give me 1 victory point if I defeat them. Before fight, all players lose 2 loot, so you'd have to go down 2 on your loot track. And how it works is, the first thing you're going to do is you're going to look at your defense. So let's just say I have this right here. I have 2 defense in front of me. That means I'm going to lower this from 4 down to 2, which now means I only have to roll a 2 on the dice to kill this thing. So let's also say that I have this, the spear gun. This means I get to roll a fist, plus I'm going to get 1, plus I can reroll 1 die. So that's really, really stinking good. So right now I need to beat a 2 in order to defeat the bats because my defense lowered it down to 2. I roll the dice. Now everyone's going to have to deal with this. And I only roll a 1, so that's a little bit bummer, but it actually would bump up to +1. Now let's pretend it didn't bump up to +1. Let's say I have 1 pip, but I need 2 in order to kill it. Well, luckily, that's where you could come back down to your sanctuary, and if you had at least 2 here, you could bump this 2 down to a 0. It will give you 1 pip, which means you would then defeat the sandbats, and you would get the good stuff and be on your merry way. The other big thing I want to mention here is you can't just load up on defense because defending them does not actually kill them. So you actually kind of want to mix up defense and offense because offense is never going to be consistent because you might get a whole bunch of 1s when you're hoping to get 3s, and defense won't kill things. You're going to have a combination of both. After that, you'll get to what's called the heal phase, which is where you can heal your people. Pretty self-explanatory. Heal survivors with medicine. And then the cleanup phase where you're going to refresh cards, do a variety of different other things, untap cards, because a lot of these cards, in fact, some of my favorite cards, will give you different stuff. So let's see if I can find a couple of them. So for instance, this one right here is going to give you 1 bottle that you'll be able to use 1 round. It doesn't actually give you a physical bottle, but it gives you a bottle you can use each round. That one will give you a wood each round. That one will give you a scrap that you'll be able to use. Plus it's a weapon, so that one's great as well. But anywho, you're going to continue to do this until you get to the final phase, which is where you will face a boss. And the boss are super duper powerful. They have lots of health. They have very punishing special abilities on the bottom. And they're also going to have power-up cards. And you'll slide this underneath there, so you're never exactly sure which kind of boss you're going to fight. And there's different power-ups with different amounts of difficulty. So you're never, you can play the game with more or less difficulty as you progress through the game. Anywho, at the end of 6 rounds, you're going to tally up your points, which will be victory points you have, cards you have that have victory points on them, survivors and specialists and different things like that. And whoever has the most points will be the winner of Remnant. And that, in a nutshell, is how the game is played. Alrighty then, Remnants from Fireside Games. What are my final thoughts? Let's go over the pros, let's go over the cons. First, on the con side, game's not going to be for everybody for a variety of different reasons. 2 to 4 players, restricted player count. Another con that I have this game is that I'm going to tell you that I think it's a very good game. I really do. But I wanted more variability in the game. Now, that being said, there is still variability in this game. There is. But I wanted even more. I wanted more of these bonus tokens. I wanted more Badlands cards. I wanted more development cards, especially considering in a 4-player game, the 1 4-player game we played of this, we just about ran out of development cards. And the only reason we didn't run out of development cards is because people were like, I don't want to buy that crap. I don't want any of that crap. I'm going to go to loot or do something else. So I just wish there were more cards in the game. I want more Dread cards, I want more Boss cards, I want more this, I want more that. Now that being said, there is still a decent variety of these cards in the game. I don't want to make it sound like there's not, but I wanted more. And I think that would have pushed this into great game category as opposed to very good game category, because I do think it's very good. Continuing on with the cons, it is a post-apocalyptic theme, so if you're not into the post-apocalyptic theme, that is what it is. It's getting to be a very cliche. It's getting up there with zombies and different things like that, but I'm still digging it, so I personally don't mind it. But hey, the theme definitely comes across. Another comment I have with this game is that there is a lot of dice rolling. There's a lot of dice rolling during that scavenging phase, and that can be really annoying. And there's a lot of dice rolling when it comes to combat. And that could be annoying as well, because you might have 6 fists right there. You might be ready to pummel some people in the face. But if you get 6 1s, it's like, oh, well, that's unfortunate. And there is ways that you can mitigate that. There's certain cards that are going to give you +1 or allow you to discard things to roll dice again, or you can upgrade your looting, which will give you more pips. But still, there's a lot of dice rolling in this game, which is going to be a turnoff to a lot of people. I did not mind it. I liked it. I felt like it worked with the flow of the game. I actually felt like it worked with the theme of the game, because if you're scavenging, who knows what you're going to come up with. Maybe you're not going to get lucky. Maybe you are going to get lucky. So it came across well for me, but I did have some people who were like, I wish there was a little bit less dice rolling in the game, especially with the weapons. Because that's another big thing. When you get into those combats, the boss combats, losing one of those is a big deal, because other people, let's say you're playing a 4-player game and everybody else gets 2 victory points and everybody else gets this and you lose something. It's like it both makes it better for them and it punishes you. It reminds me a little bit of Kingsburg, one of my favorite games of all time, where when it gets bad, it's bad. But when it's good, it's like, oh yeah, this is great. This is fantastic. And I personally like that, but I know not everybody is in that same wheelhouse. Another big thing, the survivors. I wish there were more survivors. I guess this just goes back to the variability. I just wanted a little bit more from this game. I really like the fact that there's customized special survivors, but I wanted special survivors for defense. I wanted special survivors for attacking. I wanted special survivors for this or for that. I just wish there was more of those, because when it gets down to it, most of the time in this game, most people didn't buy survivors and most people didn't upgrade survivors. The majority of the time. Because the cards just felt like they were slightly better, because they do give you victory points, plus they give you other things. Now that being said, I guess that might just be the groups that I was playing with, but for the most part, cards got bought like crazy. Survivors, and especially upgrading survivors, not nearly as often. Any other cons that I have with the game? No, and I want to let you know that most of the things that I'm talking about right now are nitpicks, because I will tell you, I think everybody I played this with thought it was a good game. I want to start off by that. I played it at 4 players and 3 players and 2 players. I was very fortunate to be able to play all the different player counts. Everybody I played with liked the game and thought it was good. Most people thought it was very good to great, as I do. And I think this is a very good game. So let's go on to the pros. I think Remnants is a very good game. And if you routinely play 2 to 4 games, you want some medium weight games, a little bit of dice rolling, maybe the post-apocalyptic theme turns you on, this is definitely one that I can recommend. So what I like about it. So first and foremost, it's a very clean game. Everything has an answer, and I felt like for the most part the rules did a very good job of explaining the game. I think there was one issue we had where we weren't quite sure how a card worked, but we found it. I found it where it probably should have been. I just wasn't looking in the right spot, but that's more on me. So the rule booklet's well done. I like the artwork, and I think irregardless of whether or not you like the artwork is well done. The graphic design, I feel, is very well done. It's very clean. It's easy to figure out where things are supposed to go, which is nice. The different phases are interesting, and I like the fact that there's different strategies to pursue in this game. Now, I'm not saying that this is just going to blow your mind with all the choices, but there are different things to go. Do I go defense with a little bit of offense? Do I go heavy offense with a little bit of defense? Do I go for the cards that are just going to give me resources, so I'll be able to buy more cards that I might suffer early on? I played it 3 times, and I won one of those games. No, actually, you know what? I didn't think I win. Did I win? No, I didn't win. I haven't won any of these games. You know what? But I came very close with the resource strategy. So you can go for heavy resources. Do you go for a lot of looting, or you go for a lot of scavenging? Do you push your luck a little bit by letting injured people stay injured? I mean, that's an interesting thing. I like the concept of the Badlands card, because you're never quite sure. Is it going to be good? Is it going to be bad? And what's really fun is you might be in a super good position. You might be sending, 5 people out looting and 3 people out scavenging, but then you might get the card, I think it said 4 or 5 people get hurt scavenging, and just like that, boom, 1 or 2 of your people are dead. And it's like, what? What if that completely changes everything? And I like that, because thematically, that works with this game. Generally when you're shipping, people don't die, so you don't have to worry about stuff like that. But in this game, you're in the post-apocalyptic. There's freaking, what was it, wolf turtles, and plague wolves, and glider raiders, and biker bandits. Yes, people are going to die, people are going to get hurt, and I like that. The scoring was simple. The cards are relatively easy to understand, and even though I want more variety in cards, there's still a decent amount of cards in the game. There's decent amount of bonus tokens, decent amount of survivors. There's 3 customized survivors. So in the end, Remnants, I think it is a very good game that I can recommend to you if you routinely hit 2 to 4 players and you're in the market for a medium weight game and you don't mind the luck of the die roll in there. It's not terrible, like it's not like just it completely decides the game, but it can from time to time decide different things. I think it's a very good game, and I think, hopefully, fingers crossed, in the future this game does well enough to get an expansion, because I feel like an expansion would move this from very good to freaking great. Like, I want more survivors, and I want more bonuses, and I want more Badlands, and I want more bad guys, and I want more dread, and I want more cards, and I want more variety, and I want to customize my sanctuary a little bit more. Maybe even make like a cooperative mode where you're working together and the bad guys are really big bad guys. I just feel like this is ripe for so much room to grow, and I'm hoping it does well enough to be able to go. So in the end, Remnants is a very good game that I absolutely can recommend if you hit 2 to 4 players routinely, and yeah, I'm going to be keeping. It's going to be going onto my shelf. Easy to learn, easy to teach, overall, very good game. If you enjoyed this review, please click on that subscribe button down below in the comments below. Let me know, post-apocalyptic theme or the zombie theme. Which one do you like best? For me personally, both. Post-apocalyptic zombies all day. That's the way to do it. Not only do you have to deal with scavenging for resources and deal with all sorts of crazy persons, throw zombies in there as well. If you want to step it up, why don't we get in a time machine, invent a time machine, and then have dinosaurs too? Not really sure how that works. Why not throw in some Nazis? Let's just do this. Nazis, dinosaurs, post-apocalyptic, zombies, and romantic comedy. I want romantic comedy mixed in there as well somehow. Let me know in the comments below, though. Whatever the heck I asked. And as always, thanks for your time, YouTube.